G'day again. We're going to look at finding the rule of a straight line given the gradient and a point when there's no graph being provided. And we're going to show you how to use algebra to do it. A bit later on I'm going to show you how to use a sketch and the logic that I used in that lesson 4.5 from mathematics, where you had to match a rule to a graph. Let's look at our first example here. In example 1, we're trying to find the rule for a straight line with a gradient of 9 that also goes through the point 0,5. Now think, what have I been told? Well, I've been told the gradient, and I've got to recall that y equals mx plus c. M is the symbol for gradient, c is the symbol for y-intercept. So I know that m is 9 straight away. Now think about that point 0,5. It's actually on the x-axis because on the y-axis because x equals 0. That means the 5 is the y-intercept and is that number c. So then I just write down everything I know. Y equals 9x plus 5. Well, that seems quite easy, and it is. In example 2, we're trying to find the rule for a straight line with a gradient of -7 that also goes through the point -2, 9. Right, think about what we know. Well, we know the gradient m is -7, but we should see that this point is definitely not the y-intercept. That's because this x value is not 0. So we can't just assume c is 9. We have to think about it. What we should do first is write down what we know. Y equals mx plus c, and we know m is -7, so we know that y equals -7x plus c. Now here's a quick warning. If in the mathematics examples you click that question mark, which sits above the cartoon character's head at the left of a question, you would have noticed they use the symbol b instead of c. It means the same thing. It's the y-intercept. Okay, back to our important idea. Here it is. If a point lies on a line, then that point's x and y value must make the rule a true statement. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to take that point that I know, -2 and 9, and I'm going to put it in the rule. So I replace the x with -2, and I'm going to replace the y with 9 in this rule here. So let's make ourselves a little bit of space and see how that works. So we've replaced them. There's the y, there's the x, and now I work out this sum. I've got to do this multiply first. Now -7 times -2 is +14. Then I follow the rules for equations. Change the side, change the sign. Doing that sum, I end up with c equals 9 minus 14, and c is equal to -5. Okay, now I know everything about the rule. I know the rule is y equals -7x minus 5. Okay, I can check this with GeoGebra. I've typed in the point -2, 9, and I've typed in what I think the rule is, -7x minus 5, and I can see it does lie on the right line. Now if I look at it a bit more carefully, I'll be able to see that my gradient is also -7. In my third example, find the rule for a straight line with a gradient of -1/4, -1/4, that also goes through the point -4/8. Sometimes they'll ask for the equation, which is the same as the rule. Alright, what do? We think y equals mx plus c, and here we're told m, the gradient, is equal to -1/4. But we should realise that this point is not the y-intercept. This is not an x value of 0. So, we've got a bit of work to do. We write down what we know. We know half the answer. We know that y equals -1x/4 plus c. Now we don't always have to write that 1 up there. The x has to be in the numerator, not down here. If the x was down here, it wouldn't be a straight line anymore. It has to be up the top. But we don't have to put that 1 in, just like before. So if you see a straight line like this, the actual number in front of the x is not -4. There's actually a 1 there, so the number in front of the x is a -1/4. Something to remember for later questions. We're going to use that key idea again. That key idea is that if a point lies on a line, then its x and y must make that statement true. So I'm going to replace x for -4 and y for -8. That's my next step here. So let's make ourselves a bit of room. Alright, so that's what we're going to do, and I've done that, and I end up with -8 equals -1/4 times -4 plus c. Now, negative times a negative becomes a positive. Remember, this 4 is up the top, this 4 is down below, so they cancel out. So we're left with -8 equals +1 plus c. Now, to get c by itself, change the side, change the sign, and we end up with -8 minus 1, and that's equal to -9. Now we know what the whole rule of this straight line is. So the whole rule is y equals -x on 4 minus 9. Now once again, I can always see if I'm right on GeoGebra. I've typed in the coordinates at that point already. Okay, so I've typed in the coordinates, I've typed in the rule. In GeoGebra they change them to decimal, so a -0.25 is -1/4, and you can see it fits, it works out. Okay, alright, I'm going to show you how to do this drawing a picture. And an example of making your own sketch for the written information. Now find the equation or rule of a straight line that has a gradient of -2/3 that goes through the point -3 minus 5. So we think y equals mx plus c. M's the gradient. We've been told the gradient is the fraction -2/3, so we know half the answer already. Now we want to draw this information, which I'll do on my computer. Bear with me because this is a bit hard. Okay, I've already drawn the graph a bit here, and I've shown the gradient, and remember what it means. The gradient means, get my cursor working again. Oh, come on, there we go. The 2 is the vertical distance, and the 3 is the horizontal distance, and the gradient's negative, so it's going to go down. Now I need to put my point in, which is x equals -3, and y equals -5. So I'll go across to -3 and down -5, so we're about here. Okay, so that's my point. So -3, -5. Alright, so for every 3 I go across, I have to go in a vertical direction of 2. And my line goes like this. Alright, so let's show that horizontal. I'm starting at x equals -3 and I've got to go across 3. Guess where I am? I'm on the y-axis. Now I've got to go a vertical distance of 2, and because the line goes down, I'm going to go in that direction. Now the question is, where am I? Well, while you're thinking about that, I'll put my second dot. There it is. Now I know I'm at 0 for the x value, but where am I for the y value? Well, my y value here is -5 across here on the y-axis, and I've gone this way another 2 units. I've gone further from 0. 0 is up here. So -5 take away another 2 is -7. So I think I know everything I need. I know my rule is y equals -2, the x goes up the top, thirds, minus 7. Now I was trying to do a nice straight line, there it is. And of course the straight line goes in both directions. Oops. I'm keen to see if I'm right, so let's type it into GeoGebra. Y equals, I've already put the point in, -2x divided by 3, that's -2/3 x, minus 7. There it is, works. Just remember, on GeoGebra, they changed that fraction into a rounded off decimal, but that's really 0.66666 forever, and rounded off it's 0.67, -0.67. So it's looking good, we're right. Anyway, I hope that helped you with the algebra, and just showed you a way of doing it with a graph as well. And sometimes drawing the information helps you understand what you've done.